destroy it and punish it. Jesus became that so that God could have the opportunity to do that. That didn't make him feel real good inside, but it did please him.
Would that please be another way of saying, oh, okay, I approve? But
Yes, approve, but I think it was more, and I agree with you, Larry, but I think it was even more than approve. And I think it goes to what Jeanette said. It gave him joy because he knew that Jeanette was going to be sitting in this room tonight because of it. And he wanted her in the kingdom. He wants us. Remember we were saying this last week and the week before, he wants us in the family. As Myra said, we're his children by adoption. He wants that feeling of giving to us the kingdom. He wanted that opportunity. But there was only one way to get it. There was only one way. Jesus himself said, is there another way we can do this? And if you notice, God didn't respond. I like to think, and I want to interject this. I am not one to impose my thoughts and my imagination and my retro psycho analysis on the Bible and the people in the Bible. I know a lot of people do that. I don't do that. If the Bible doesn't say it, I leave it alone. It didn't say it, so I don't know. But I'm going to venture just this time to say, I like to imagine when Jesus said, Father, is there another way? And his father didn't reply. I like to imagine that God was sitting there on his throne with tears streaming down his face, saying, I can't answer you. You know there's no other way, son. I want to tell you, yeah, there's another way. Let's scrap this. This is too hard. This is too ugly. I don't want to do this to you. I don't want to have this happen to you. So let's scrap this and let's go with plan B. But I like to think that his heart was breaking because he felt like, there's no other way we can do this. We've already talked about this. You've always known this. I can't get the words out. That's my imagination of what God was feeling at that time. I can't get the words out to say, no, I'm sorry. And to be honest, just talking about this almost moves me to tears. Because when I think that God, the king, the ruler, the one who had control over everything, when I think that he was sitting there on his throne and his son who he loved him. He loved him, and his son pleased him. God had said that on a couple of occasions publicly, probably more times than are recorded. But it's recorded that he said that a couple of times. This is my beloved son, and I'm very pleased with him. He was pleased with him. And now he's sitting there, and his son, who he loves and is pleased with, and who has never done anything to betray him or hurt him or displease him. His son is begging him, Father, please, you know what's about to happen to me. And it wasn't just the physical cross. I always say that, and it's always very important. Because 2 other people died on crosses that day. And many other people had been crucified, was crucified back in those days when that was the Roman form of capital punishment. But those 2 thieves who were crucified that day did not go through what Jesus went through. And I don't mean they didn't go through the physical beating, which I don't think they went through as much as Jesus went through because Jesus was so hated. But the Bible doesn't tell us what actual physical punishment they went through. We do know that the flogging was part of the crucifixion. The crown of thorns wasn't. The humiliation wasn't. The slapping in the face and, blindfolding and punching him in the face and saying, prophesy and tell us who hit you since you're so smart, since you're the Son of God and you know everything, who just punched you in the eye. Okay, the other 2 thieves didn't go through that, but there's something even greater that they never went through. They were not made sin. And I'm going to tell you something. Not one of us in this room, and not anybody who has ever been alive, except Jesus, can possibly know what that feels like. because it's never been required of another person. Not one other person has ever been forced to be made to become the actual sin of the entire world. I'm not even going to begin to try to imagine what Jesus felt like at that moment in the garden. I can't. He was not just crying out because he was afraid of being crucified physically, which I'm sure that was terrifying too. But here's the Father, and this is why I said it almost moves me to tears, because here's God who is pleased with his Son. And his Son is begging him, Father, please, can we do something else? And his Father, and I know this, we're talking about God, but just in this instance, I like to stretch my imagination. I can almost see God with his lip quivering. You know what I mean? And wanting to answer Jesus and say, yeah, it's okay. Let's do something different. But not just the words being choked with the words. You know this is what we've got to do, and I can't even say anything. I can't ask you again. I can't get the words out. But it meant so much to him to have me in the kingdom, that he, more than he was just okay with it, Larry. That's why I liked your words. He approved. But more than he approved, it pleased him. Because he's like, yes, if we can get through this, Son. Just give me 3 days. Give me 3 more days. Give me 3 days. 3 more days, Son. Can you do it for 3 more days?
You know what I was thinking too? I think he was pleased with his obedience.
I'm going to talk about that. You're absolutely right, Stacy. I'm going there next. Give me 3 more days. We'll get through this, because I want Mike Grabowski in the kingdom. I want Amy in the kingdom. I want Brian in the kingdom. You got to do this for me, son. You got to do this for me. That's the pleasure that we're talking about. It pleased the Father, because it gives him joy to give us the kingdom. Stacy, I was going there next. What pleased God even more of, I'll say besides that, I won't say even more, is the fact that Jesus, when God couldn't answer, Jesus said, okay, then I'm pleased with it too. And how do we know? Now, absolutely, you're right, and we know that because he said, Father, not my will, but yours be done. But there's something else I'm thinking about that Jesus had said, that Jesus did say that night, that absolutely proves that. You know it, you might not think of it. If you don't think of it, honestly. Something Jesus said that proved to us that his heart was in the same place as his Father's. I'm pleased too, because I want them in the kingdom. Yes.
I'll probably have to look at it, but something popped in my head that he wanted the people that would come to believe in him for salvation, that they would have the same relationship as him and the Father had.
Yes. But he said something. He said something that night. He actually said it to his disciples. Okay, I'll zero in. He actually said it to Peter. Okay, I'll get even closer. He actually said it to Peter when Peter had cut off that guy's ear. I forget his name. And Jesus said, what did he say to Peter? He said, what did he tell Peter to do? Peter, he's defending Jesus. He takes out his sword.
Put down your sword.
He said, put up your sword.
Put down your sword.
And he said something else. We'll skip over the next phrase because it's not important to this. But the last thing he said in that discourse to Peter, or that
Shouldn't I drink from the cup?
No. He said, don't you understand? If I wanted to, I would ask my Father. I would ask my Father to stop this right now. Now I'm paraphrasing. He said, I would ask my Father, and my Father would send down a legion. Did he say a legion? A legion. First of all, we don't even know how many angels that is. but a legion of angels, number one, we don't even know what number he was referring to. But number two, think of this. It took one angel, just one angel, to almost completely destroy Jerusalem. When that's an Old Testament reference, when David had sinned and, an angel came and was killing. It took one angel to kill thousands and almost completely destroy the entire city of Jerusalem. One angel. Jesus says, Peter, don't you understand? You think that measly little cheese butter cutter you got, chopping off people's ears and stuff, you think I need that? Don't you understand what is at my disposal? I could ask my Father right now, Father, please, I can't do this. And he would send a legion of angels to defend me right now. So there are three things. I'm going to stop soon. We're not going to go much further. That's okay. I'm perfectly okay with that. I didn't know how long this would take. But I see about three different things in what Jesus said. Can you help me? Can you sort of think it through? Jesus is saying, Peter, put up your sword. Are you kidding me? I could ask the Father right now, and he'd send a legion of angels to help me, and this would all be over. I see several different things in there. I'll help you. I see something on God's part. I see something on Jesus' part.
I see knowledge of a plan and I see obedience.
I'll take obedience. Not that the first answer was bad. I'll take obedience. But let's start with God. What do we see in that, in what Jesus said? What do we see about God in that instance?
All powerful.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a hand. I didn't see you, Ruby. Yes, Ruby. What do you see about God?
Well, can I tell you something?
You can tell me anything you like, and we all gotta listen.
God knows how many hairs are on your head.
He does. God actually knows how many hairs are on our head. He knows how many I used to have, and he knows how many I've lost so far. Yes. That's great, Ruby, because you're absolutely right.
He keeps his promises from the Old Testament that Christ would take away the sins of the world. Isn't it like a reference?
That's fine. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I see, what I'm thinking. Not that your answers are wrong. I see something different. I see that in spite of everything I've just spent the last 15, 20 minutes saying about God and how he felt and how much he was willing and how much it pleased him to go ahead and do this, to have you in the kingdom, Mike. I see that there was a love agreement between him and his son. And if his son had said to him, Father, I can't, God would not have been angry at his son and said, what? Come on, dude. You're killing me here. You know what I mean? He would have said, I understand. Okay. Now, that would have been really bad for us. But Jesus said that. He said, I could ask my Father. He didn't say I would do it myself. He said, don't you understand, Peter? I could ask my Father right now, and he would send me a legion of angels. The minute Jesus pulled the cord and said, stop. The minute he hit the buzzer, can't do it. Can't go through with it. God would have said, okay, go, get my son out of here. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? So his keeping his promise, you're right about that, Mike. Can you believe God's level of commitment to us? That's unbelievable. He would have delivered his son at a moment's notice from this whole situation. But he was sitting there, as I described a minute ago, and I know I'm kind of dramatizing, but he was sitting there saying, stay with his son. Just stay with it. We're almost there, buddy. We're almost there. 3 more days. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. I gotta do this for Mike. We gotta do this for Karen. We gotta do this for Nessa. Come on, stay with it. Stay with it. Ready at any moment to rescue his son. Jesus said he would. Now, what does that show us about Jesus? That he said that.
He doesn't need us to fight battles or go to war for him. We just need to trust him.
What does it say about his heart in that moment? We've just talked about God's heart. Yes, yes, Ruby.
It tells us that God's heart is kind.
That God is kind. Yes, he
Look
is
out for
kind.
others.
He does. He looks out for us. He did that for us. He did that for you, Ruby. He did that for you.
And he died on the cross for us.
Yes, and the fact that he died on the cross, the fact that Jesus went through with it, even though he knew, this is where I'm going, Jeanette, even though Jesus knew, all I've got to do is ask my Father right now. That makes me think of something. We're almost done. Give me a couple more minutes. That makes me think of something, because we just said this a few minutes ago, that Jesus prayed and he said, you know, is there any other way? Please, Father. And the Father didn't respond. That makes me understand that deep down in Jesus' heart, he did know that there was no other way. Jesus was a man, and he was speaking as a human being. He felt what he felt, and he said what he said as a human being. Okay? He wasn't going to the cross as the glorious Son of God. He was going to the cross as somebody like Sean, somebody like me, somebody like Luis, a man, a human being. That was scary. And the fact that he was about to be made sin and have God's wrath poured out on him, that was scary. But deep down in his heart, he had already decided, I'm going through with this. Even though I know my Father would rescue me if I asked him to. But I'm not going to ask him to. Look at it this way. Jesus put yourself in this place. I just thought of this. We've heard of the phrase safe words. You know, well, I've seen it on TV. I don't know about it in real life, but in movies or shows, they say, okay, if you get into trouble, you know, what's the safe word? The safe word is, you know, shoebox. Okay, if you say shoebox, I'm coming in. Jesus had a safe word, and he was like, I'm not going to use it. I don't care. I don't care how I'm feeling right now. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to take the out. He had an out. The whole time he had an out. And what an out. A legion of angels. And he refused. I'm not taking the out, Peter. I'm not taking the out. Go ahead.
It makes me think that he also did that for our benefit.
Of course.
If we ask anything in the Father, if we ask the Father anything in Jesus' name.
Yes, we're
If
going to
it's
go
in his
there
will.
more through this. So I'm going to stop because it's getting late. That's okay. And I don't want to wear you out. I know you have long days. Let me just tie up what we've said so far, and we're going to please put these sheets in your regular folders. And if you don't have your folder, I'll give you the sheet again next week. And I think we still have a couple of extra folders. But I just want to tie up what we've said so far, and we're going to continue with this next week. So, it's the Father's good pleasure. It gives him ultimate joy to give to us the entire kingdom. All that belongs to him belongs to us, because we are in the family, as Myra has so well said. He has adopted us. We've been talking about that for at least 2 weeks. I think 3. How God has adopted us into the family and given us complete sonship, daughtership. We're not step kids. You know what I mean? We're not step kids. We're not foster kids. We're not foster kids. It's like, oh yeah, these are my kids who I love, and this is my foster kid. I get paid for taking care of him. And I know that's not true of everybody. I know that there are foster parents who love the children. But I'm painting a picture. We're not step kids. We're not foster kids. We are full-fledged children. Full-fledged. That's why it's adoption. Full-fledged children. Yeah. I adopted a child once. And she has my last name. And I raised her along with the rest of our children. She wasn't like the kids and her. It wasn't like, okay, these are our kids and then there's this kid. I have 6 kids because I adopted one. She's fully my daughter without exception. It's on paper. She's my daughter. That's God. God has adopted us, and it pleases him. It has pleased him That's why it pleased him to crush his own son, because that was the only way that this adoption could take place. All right, we'll stop here. Let's finish with one more hymn and a prayer, and then we'll go. Yes, I see a hand way in back. Tell me your name. Is it
Emery.
Emery, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can say anything you want. What would you like to say?
Jesus also partially died on the cross for sins by getting whacked.
By getting what?
By getting whacked by a whip.
Oh, yeah, he did. Listen, Emery, maybe we should talk more about that next week, because we got to finish up tonight. But they did some really bad stuff to him. Stuff that they didn't do to those other two thieves, I'll tell you that. Medical science and history tells us. But hey, Emery, why did he let them do that to him when he didn't have to? He could have stopped that. Why did he let that happen?
Because he knew he would be in danger.
He knew we'd be, I love that. Oh my God, I want to hug you right now. We were in danger of what? You're right. We were in danger of what? Sins. And what was going to happen to us if he didn't go through with that? Do you know? Can anybody help him? What if Jesus didn't go through with that? What was going to happen to us? We were going to perish. Hellfire. Hell, among other things. First of all, after we lived a life of hell, then we were going to go and die. We were going to die and go to hell. Really? Imagine that. But he was willing. So let's stop, because I could go just Giselle and I laugh all the time. She says, I never finish, I just stop. Really? I think I get that from my dad. He used to always say that. He said, I never finish, I just quit. But when I preach, I'm just saying, I just stop with him like, okay, that's enough. I've gone long enough. I just stop. So I'm just stopping because I'm not done. Anyway, how about one more hymn? Since you can't hold the camera for this, sign off, say bye, and we love you. See you.
You already said it.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming.